Hi, it's Steve. Today we'd like to show you how to change the guide bar for the latch on your front load washer. It's a really easy job. Let me show you how we do it. Now to do this repair, the easiest way is to remove the door from the washer completely. There are a couple of methods that you can use. One is to remove the hinge and door assembly as one unit, but the screws that secure the hinge to the front panel have nuts that are located behind the front panel. Therefore, you need to take the top off and be able to hold those nuts from behind to remove the hinge. The alternate method is to remove some of the screws that are closest to the hinge, separate the door and slide it away from the hinge, and then we can put that door on a work surface and do the repair. So we begin by removing the screws right at the hinge. And we'll take out 8 of those screws back to this point. And next we're going to loosen the next 2 just slightly. Hold that door together as you loosen those screws. And then we're just carefully going to separate the inner and outer half of that door just enough that we can tuck it away from the hinge. You'll have to turn it about 90 degrees to pop it off the hinge. At that point, we'll take that assembly and we'll set it on a work surface and we can change out the parts. Now next we'll remove the rest of the screws. So with all of the screws removed, our next step will be to separate the 2 halves to the door. And we'll lift the inner door panel with the glass away from the outer door panel, and then we'll carefully set the outer door panel aside, and we'll turn the inner door panel upright. So next we'll remove the defective guide bar. If it's still intact, simply slide it away from the latch and the spring assembly. Discard the old one. And then slide the new one into place. Make sure it passes through both the spring and the latch. Now when reassembling the door, we'll lay the outer door panel face down. Make sure the handle is laying flat in the little cutouts for it. Then while supporting the inner door glass, we'll lower that inner panel onto the outer panel, lining up the screw holes in the handle area. We'll start by installing a single screw right by the latch. We can then start to put the rest of the screws in place. We're only going to do the one center one by the latch, and then 2 on either side. The next 2 out, we'll just put them in loosely. And when installing these screws, we want to make sure that we press the 2 halves of the door together rather than let the screw pull it together. And use caution that we don't strip those screw holes. They are just going into plastic. Now the 3rd one out from the center, we're just going to put it in loosely. And that will allow us to separate the door at the hinge side enough that we can fold it over top of the hinge. Now before we install the door on the washer, make sure that those caps are snug and push firmly onto the door hinge itself. Then we'll separate that inner and outer door panel just enough that we can slide it into place. Line up those hinge pins into the proper sockets. Press the door together While holding it together, we'll begin by putting a screw in by the hinge itself. And again, make sure that we squeeze the door together as we install each of those screws. And then tighten the two that we left loose during our install. Check the operation of the latch and handle. Now close the door up, and your repair is complete.